So guys, last week we left here in this new project. In this project we created a program CS file that came out of template, and this week we will continue from that. I will explain what this template consists of and what are the method functions available here and with the variables here, and then we will go to the project. So here, if you see here, we created a class and it's a public class, and I hope you are aware of this basics of C plus C sharp. And here you see we have created some class members. So by default, it's create the template gives you a private static method, but it's based on the project. If you really want to keep it as private, then you can keep it as it is. But if you think, no, I want to create it as a public member, you can also change that. It's based on the project. So for now, let's leave it as it is. Yeah. So when it is a static member, if it is a public static member, then we can access it the variable via the class name. So if I press program dot and then the session, I can retrieve this object. Yeah, so that's a use of the static, but in case of a public static is what I meant. And here we have four object. Technically we use this three most of the time, and the other is this three or belongs to NX and the other or belong to the coding side. So here we have session, yeah, and then if you see here below this class members, we have constructor. So what the constructor is doing is when you create an object for this class, at which point we are creating it, we are creating at this point. When you create a object for this class, this all the variable will get initialized inside the constructor. So that's a use of this constructor, and this and then we'll go on to the main function. So this is the main function where it's the entry point of this application. So once this main function is triggered, you can access the whole application via the main function. So there are different kinds of entry point. For now, for the DLL and the EXE, we'll stick with main. We have different kinds of ELL based on the application. So we are creating a standalone application, which can be, now we are creating a DLL or a EXE. So in order to create this DLL and EXE, and you want this to be run when user clicks a button in NX, or user calls it via different application, yeah, then it's totally we can use this main. But NX also has something called a callback option that we will learn it in the upcoming video. So if you see, this is the main, and then it's a standard function which has not enough now more nothing more information here. And here we have a try catch. So I guess you guys are aware of this. If not, I will quickly explain that. So what happens here is in try, the try code will get executes first, and then if there is an error in this try code, then it goes to catch. And then we can write things like um, we can set this object to null here, for example, if you really want, or so something like that. But this object should be initialized. We can check whether we can dispose this object. That can be done in the catch. We also have one more here called finally. We can write that as well. uh, Finally, we'll do few more information. Once the catch executes, we have try, and then we have catch. Once a catch executes, it will also, we can write a final class. So here you can pop up a message saying, hey, there is an error happened in this application, so we don't know. So those kind of things can be written in this final block. So this is an entry point of this application, and then it will execute all the codes which is in between these lines, and then it goes out, it exits the application. So here we have a dispose application. So this is here we have a dispose method. So this method is It's a very basic method which gives you information about the class members. For example, if we can write the whole thing, the catch code, yeah, into the dispose method, saying okay, I want the program to be null. You can write it here. If the dispose is called, we have more information. We can do with this dispose method. We can do many much information, but for now, for the basic stuffs, we can dispose all the members in this method. So we can clear the memory for that class. By default, C# does that as well. So that is called the cleaning process. So after execution of the process, it frees up all the memory. So, but from a programmer perspective, it's better to clean it up by yourself. Yeah. There may be a chance of memory leak if you write a huge application. So better we will write it this way. And at the end, we have this three important line of code, I would say. This is called the unload method, option method. So what is this means? I will quickly open my NX, yeah, and then I will explain you what it does. So here, if you see, I create an application. Let's say I created an application which opens a part, or it opens a listing window, yeah, and then it prints some information. You can see that video how it does in the last application, the last video. You can check that. So here, the application is if you set it to, I'll quickly set it to side by side so it's easier for understanding. So here, if you see, we have uh, three options. One is immediate. So there is something called unloading of image or unloading of application. So we can also check this unload based on this utilities. It should be unload shared image from the memory. For now, there is no memory and there is no application loaded. When you execute application and this application ends, which means it comes to dispose, and it went out of this, it came at this point, and now it exists application. After this application, if you really want to change this application, yeah, and you can change it, you can also build it, but if this DLL is loaded inside NX, it will not allow you to rebuild the application or change the existing DLL, because this DLL is got tagged into NX. So in order to remove that, we need to explicitly say, okay, do it immediately after the execution. So when this set to immediately, then this after execution of this line, it will unload the application. So which means you can build it, rebuild it, use it as it is. Yeah. So that's one option, and there is one more option called at termination. So you can either use one of this option, not all at same time. So so if you want to use a termination, for example, yeah, control, I'm just commenting this, and I'm uncommenting this line. So as this executes is at termination, now we set it to termination. So what this does, you create an application, and the application is done, but the NX will not release this DLL. It will keep hold of this DLL because it can be a startup DLL. We have a concept, something called a startup DLL. We have, as I said before, we have something called callbacks, and we also have something called user exits. So we'll learn that in the next upcoming video. So uh, sometimes you want the application to unload only when you close NX. So in that case, we will write a termination. I'll give you a scenario. For example, if the user opens a part, and after opening the part, the part the the part is modified, yeah, and the user didn't save this part for 10 minutes, and now you want to show a pop-up to the user saying, hey, you didn't save the part for the last 10 minutes. Now do you really want to save? Yeah. So at that time, in the background, the application should run, isn't it? So without the application doesn't if the application doesn't run out any time, then it doesn't know, okay, whether the 10 minutes it's already done or it's only 5 minutes. So for that case scenarios, it's just one scenario where it terminates assembly, which means it only closes, allows the user to allow the developer, you guys, to change this library only when you close this, when you change the DLL, I meant once you close the NX. So it's what a termination means. I guess you guys understand, can be with me up to this point. If you have any questions, then please write it down in the comment section. I'm happy to help you. So we also have something called a explicit unloading. I'll comment this and quickly uncomment this code. So here it will do a explicit. We can I run a DLL. Let's say I create a WinForm application. There is something called a WinForm application that can be created. I'll also teach that WinForm creation application, and you have to retain some information of this WinForm until some part need to be modified. I have two parts. Let's say part A and part B. The user clicks on part 1, model 1. I'll also create quickly one more part. File, new, and then let it be. So I have two models, model 1 and model 2. I am retrieving some information from model 1. How I am doing this? I'm writing few codes in my application to retrieve few information. Yeah, and now I'm allowing the user to move to model 2, and I'm pasting that information into model 2. This is just one example for an application. So once you paste it, it NX, by default there is something called NxOpen block styler, which will not allow you to switch parts, yeah, or switch work parts during runtime. So we create a WinForm application, and that will allow us to move between two parts. Now you migrated to two parts, and then you pasted all the information that you copied from the part 1. Once this information is pasted, or once you paste this information in the part 2, now you have to exit the application. If user clicks close in the WinForm, it will not close, it will not unload the image or unload the DLL. So in that case, we need to explicitly close it. We need to write few code here to say, okay, I will close it, unload this image now, so that it can be used again, or I can rebuild it. So that's a use of explicit. So these are the three important things that which needs. Uh, that's again, and then I will quickly go back and then explain. We for now will set it to immediate, so it's easier for us. And then now we will go back to the code, and here I'll quickly explain what the session does. So if someone asks what's a session for a user, from the user perspective, here what you see is a session. So everything you see here is a session. Yeah? So a session can have multiple parts. So here if you see, I have a session here. The window that you see here is a session. And how many parts do I have? The answer is 2. So because I have model 1, that is one part, and we also have something called model 2, that is also a part in this session. So we basically call it as a base part, but for learning perspective, let's keep it simple. Say that you have two parts in it. So it's a .prt file. So I guess you are aware of the basics of what is a PRT file. So this comes into NX. When you create a part, it's always a part file. When you create a FEM file, then it is .fem file. When you create a simulation, then it is .sim file. So NX has its own preference, or part name file type preference, I would say. So here, if I ask you how many NS parts are there, that is 2. So how can I access this session? So NX has provided us two ways to access a session. There is one important way, I would say, from the basics learning perspective. That is this class. There is one class called session. Where this session is coming from the reference DLL that we refer. So if you see here, it coming from this NxOpen reference DLL. If you want to know where this location, if you click on, say if you select the session and then press F2, F12 in your keyboard, it takes you to the metadata page. And here, if you see, it says, okay, this session class is coming from this file. Well, what is the name of this file? It's nxopen.dll. So this, we are collecting the session from this class via a method called getSession. So this line of code will get the session which you see in the screen and then assign it to the variable called the session here, the session. So I can say with this session, the session that got created, I can access listing window, for example. So I can open a listing window in this line of code will open a listing window. What is a listing window? For that, please check my previous video. I have explained what is a listing window. So here it opens a listing window, yeah, and then how we access the listing window from the session. From that session is coming from which DLL? NxOpen DLL. That is why we are referring all this in the DLLs. Some of these classes or some of these methods will come from a different DLL. So for this API, we are referring the NxOpen DLL. So again, I will close one of this part which we don't need for now, and I'll also explain you about one more important variable, that is work part. So if you are, let's say you are opened a part here, and you are working on it. So in this part, you created some uh, datum coordinate system, or you created a datum plane, something like that. So you are working in this part. Currently, the work part is the one that I'm doing. This is model one. So if I ask you what is the part that I'm working, the answer is model.1. So this is my work part where I'm working. So if you want to access anything inside the work part, then NX provides you an API called the work part. So we can collect that work part via, for now, I create a part variable, yeah, and that I'll name it as work part. So NX says, okay, you want to collect it from the in the session. So I'm saying, okay, in this session, I said in the session there might be many parts available. So it's not part, it's parts. So PARTS, it means there are multiple parts can be available. Yeah. And then now what exactly we want? We want work part. So if you type work, so this is my work part. Now I got the work part, yeah, and then I assign to my part. So using this work part, you can manipulate many things. So this is a very basic step that you need to understand what and all I can do with this work part. Anything that's happened inside NX. Let's say you create a sketch, you create an extrude, or if for quick example, if you insert uh, a block, everything is happening inside this part, which means everything what we do can be automated via the variable called work part. So this object is very important for you to learn. In the next upcoming video, we will learn how to read the features out of it, how to write the information into a listing window, or how to export the things into a CSV file, and so on. I hope you guys understood this video clearly. If you guys have any question, please post it on the comment section. I'm happy to help you. And if you have also other queries in any development side, please let me know. And if you like my content, please consider subscribing to my channel. and I hope I'll see you in the other video. Thank you guys.